Hello and welcome everybody to our webinar. We look forward to talking to you. Thank you for joining us. Wherever you may be joining us from, we had a webinar last night and I saw the heat map and there were people from all over the world. So maybe you from all over the world as well, or maybe you right around the corner from one of us in South Africa. But wherever you are, welcome. I trust you well. I have a lovely panel that I'm with this evening, and we are chatting about our BCom in accounting. We have some staff from Milpark Education joining me. We have two of our students who are on the program also joining with us to talk a bit about the program. So without further ado, let me introduce you to who I have with me on the call. Let me tell you I am. Who's this guy talking? I'm Jonathan Dillon. I'm the head of the School of Professional Accounting at Milpark Education. And then with me is Charmari Wolmarans, the head of department for our undergraduate program, the BCom in accounting that we're talking about. I've got two lecturers who are on the program and very much student-facing, interacting with the students. Leo Diodat with us. Hello, Leo. And when you chat, you can also just tell us about the subject that you're involved in, etc., your specialities. And then Laura Gregory as well, working with Leo on the student-facing team that we have. And then we have Nozipo Nkosi. Nozipo is one of our, what we call SSWAs, Student Success and Wellness Advisors. Because in this time, we're not only going to be talking about the academic side of the program, we're also going to talk about the very important non-academic side of the program, how we support our students holistically. So those are staff from Milpark Education joining me on the call. And then we've got Michelle Minnie and Jacques Marais, first-year students in our BCom in accounting, and we look forward to hearing from you a little bit later about your experiences in our program. So again, thank you for joining us. And without further ado, I'd like to pull Charmari into the call for us really to talk to a focus on the academic side. And Charmari, I'd love for you to share just a bit about, this is an online BCom in accounting. What does an online BCom in accounting mean? Structure, flexibility. What would you tell prospective students about our BCom?
Thanks, Jonathan. That's definitely a mouthful over there. And welcome also to all the prospective students that are joining us today. It's very exciting to have you, and also to the rest of the panel. Shoo, that is a question we have to sit and you have to think, now, where do I actually start? So students, as you know, Milpark is an online institution, meaning we deliver our program via distance learning. So what that means is you will be receiving your course material, etc., being delivered online. All right, so when you decide to sign up with Milpark, I think one of the most important aspects to take into account, Jonathan, is that we are not going to tell you, yay, here you are with Milpark, and now you're on your own. We have a very specific program that is designed to take you step by step by step, week by week by week, to actually achieve and reach the goals that you need to achieve. So if I can use an example, you'll use our online system, or our online learner management system rather, where you will receive your material on a weekly basis. So we go with you step by step so that you can keep up with the week's material that you need to go through. That is not the only thing that we do. They would do a lot of other things. You have your textbook, but also so important, we have so many things to help you. We have consultation sessions. We have live sessions every week where you can actually sit with a lecturer. We hold your hand to make sure that your academic questions are answered, but also, as Jonathan said, when Zipo will speak later to us, also your non-academic questions and your student support is being looked after. So students, that's just in very, very short how we cater for you in an online environment. All right. So first thing is it's very important to know that you're definitely not ever going to feel alone or be alone. And we have so many groups and we have so many communities, and uh, uh, it's we call it Viva Engage. It's almost like I want to call it a WhatsApp group where you get to meet your fellow students, first year, second year, third year, and it's. I can remember one person used to always say his biggest dream in Milpark is that students that start studying together in an online environment one day also get married, the same as what happens when you actually are sitting, in a face-to-face class. So I think it's very important, students, to know that you're definitely not alone and we are here to support you every step of the way. Now with that comes also then the flexibility that we have in our online environment, which is just as important. So even though we have, for example, a weekly live session for every module, every subject, it's also recorded. So it's up to you to then go and watch it afterwards. Our consultations that we have, it's up to you to see where it fits into your schedule. When can you plan it? When can you meet with your lecturer? So there's lots of flexibility built into the program, not only with regards to academic assistance, but also with regards to how can you tackle the program. Meaning, do you want to finish the program in the minimum of 3 years, which you will then take all the subjects or your subjects semester per semester as you pass through them? Or you can then choose to be a bit more flexible and choose which subjects you want to choose or you want to take or register for every semester. And students, that a bit more detail about that is perhaps it depends on how many hours do you have per week. If you have 40 hours a week available, we will tell you to register for the full program. Take all the modules that you need to take for the semester. If you only have 20 hours available a week, we will rather advise you to then take half of the workload. All right. So that's a bit about the flexibility of our program. Jonathan, does that answer that?
Yeah. No, thank you very much. I think the fact that it's online, very important, doesn't mean you're alone. It doesn't, well, and when you say holding your hand, okay, it's holding a virtual hand, so it's not a physical hand, but we're there to support you. So on the flexibility side, like you said, we have the full workload option, we have the half workload option. Let's just remind prospective students that is not an academic decision. It's not like a standard grade and a higher grade type of thing. It's a time thing. So what can you devote? So if you're working, you've got to be realistic about how much time you have. And if you've got enough time to do the full workload, you can commit to a full workload and we'll help you as best possible. And obviously the flexibility of the program then overlays there because you can access the material whenever you want. Even though we have live sessions, our live sessions that we have are really touch bases, and Laura and Leo, you can chat to that. It's kind of voluntary in itself, because all you need for success on our courses is available to you whenever on the learning management system. The bite-sized lecture videos, the activities that you do, etc. And live sessions are one of the ways to keep you connected and engaged on your learning journey. So we don't give you all the content up front. We pace your learning journey for you. And it is a program where there's something to do every week. So you've got to stay engaged in the program, because we know an engaged student is way more likely to be successful than a non-engaged student. So we try and keep you very much engaged and on the journey with us. The one thing I just want to highlight, I want to pause and highlight, is just how our BCom has been developed and how different our BCom is to basically any other BCom that's out there. In Psycha's words, it's a BCom that it's the first BCom that they see really that's been built with the CA of the future competency framework in mind. We built the BCom from a zero base, and we said, how can we build a BCom that really encapsulates the heart of the CA of the future competency framework, We had a webinar last week, if you want to refer to that, where we actually were in a discussion with Mandy Willifeed from SAICA, and we spoke about the CEO of the Future Competency Framework. And we are very much talking and partnering with SAICA in terms of how educationally we can actually help CAs of the future that are on their journey towards becoming CAs. And when SAICA came and looked at our program, their commentary was they're very excited about what we've done. We should celebrate in terms of what we built as a BCom. And our BCom is now endorsed by SAICA, what you'd say accredited by SAICA. So what we're talking about here is a SAICA accredited, or in SAICA's new terminology, a SAICA endorsed BCom. It's got SAICA stamp of approval. If you join us, then you are well on your way towards becoming a CA. You have at Milpark, we have a SAICA accredited BCom. We then also have a SAICA accredited postgraduate diploma. So you can go straight from your first year through to your final year of studies on your route towards becoming a chartered accountant. And, you know, we can talk to certain aspects of the BCom and how it was developed. The one thing is the BCom has one module right at the beginning, which is called IPAS, the Introduction to Professional Accounting Studies. And that's the only module that you do as a first-year student when you join us. So for the first number of weeks, you just do that particular module, and it introduces you to your studies that you're going to embark on. And then I want to come back to that. And that's where I'm going to pull Jacques and Michelle in. Waiting. They're chomping at the bit to tell us all of the goodness that they're enjoying. But then thereafter, what do you embark on? You basically embark on a journey. You follow a company, and you start as a sole trader right in the beginning of your studies in your first year, and you progress with the company. It's eBike South Africa, the company that you progress with. And as the company grows, so you learn about more content. The company becomes a partnership. It then becomes a private company. It eventually lists. And in your third year, you're dealing with a group of companies where you're doing consolidations and all wonderful things. And in between there, Forex is introduced and standard costing and various other things on the journey. But it's contextual in terms of when it's applicable to you learning about that in the business. And the same with strategy and law, whatever it may be. So I want to, with that in mind, how our BCom has been developed, and just talk about the academic goodness that's in the BCom. Michelle, you were, I know, one of the students that got an award for your IPAS project. So you know IPAS much better than I know IPAS. I didn't do this thing called the Introduction to Professional Accounting Studies. And Jacques, you also did it. But Michelle, I want to bring you in first. How have you enjoyed, because it's very fresh for you. You joined us in July this year, right? As a first-year student.
Yes.
So you actually, have you written your IPAS exam? You have. Yes, you finished it. Yes. Okay. So tell us a bit about IPAS. How did you enjoy it?
I really enjoyed it. It was super fun, and it helped me a lot, like during the weeks, working on my task every week, because the content we did actually contributed to the business plan we had to do for our exam.
So basically, the whole module was about this thing of the end goal is for you to develop a business plan. And then what all went into that business plan as you progressed through IPAS?
Well, we did a steep analysis. I'm not sure if you know what steep analysis is. I'm guessing you do. But is, well, I'll name the
strategic analysis.
Yeah, so we did a steep analysis. We did a financial part in the business plan we had to do. We had to do a business summary where you include the vision and the mission of your business, the business value proposition, what your goals are, and so on.
And out of interest, what company did you develop or write your business plan on?
My business plan was the name of the business is Take a Break. It is about vacation packages, but specifically for in Mossel Bay. Because I did a consensus, but I asked people what business do they think Mossel Bay needs, and then a lot of them said it was a lot of recreational activities they chose, but a lot of those activities actually exist already in Mossel Bay. They just weren't aware of it. So I thought I can link the consumer with the business. And my business idea is to create vacation packages, specifically only focused in the Mossel Bay area, and then also give discount to the people that is from Mossel Bay.
Wonderful, wonderful. Wow. And that was your own idea that you came up with based on the research and questions you asked. Fantastic. I do see a risk to our program that we're going to lose a lot of students because they're going to get this wonderful idea and then just give up studies halfway.
Jonathan, can I add to Michelle? That is so wonderful. And we were talking now about SAICA, and one of the things that they also said, students, it was that this program and our degree has got the potential to disrupt the industry. And what Michelle is telling you about now, as Jonathan also said, is when you start with us, you don't just jump in and you have all these modules as with a traditional program. You start with only this iPass module, where we take you through a business plan and we show you a little bit about everything that you might be dealing with and going into the detail of in later years, even very important things such as ethics, digital analysis and skills. And yeah, it's very, very beautiful and very, very different to what you will get traditionally when you go and you do your BCom in accounting. So Michelle, thank you for that. It was also lovely to read your business plan.
Yeah, I also read it. I was one of the judges there. Yeah, very interesting business plans that we were reading. Jacques, your experience from IPAS, you joined us in the beginning of the year. Just a quick update in terms of where you fitted in. You joined us in January. So you effectively in your second semester now of your studies with us in your first year.
Yeah.
Take us back to
I found IPAS quite nice. It started off, how can I say, quite easy, but it was enough workload to keep you busy for the whole week as you're only doing one module. It was for me quite interesting to learn about in IPAS. They also talked us through a lot of like, what is a professional accountant and a CA actually do, and what's the different career paths that you can do with the BCom accounting degree. So that was quite interesting for me to learn because no one in my family is sort of chose that path. We also learned quite a lot about different sectors in South Africa and what contributions they do to the GDP, for instance. I found that quite interesting. As Michelle also said, it sort of built up over the, I think, 7 weeks, and sort of, I know in the middle, one of our assignments was a basic business plan that we did, or sort of a business proposal rather, that we had to do on PowerPoint. And that sort of formed part of the planning phase for our final project. It was the final formal business plan. And it was quite a nice experience to do the PowerPoint, because we also could submit it, and we had to do a peer review for 2 other students. So every student receives a PowerPoint, and you have to do a peer review for 2 other students. It was quite interesting for me to see other students' business plans and sort of not steal ideas, but sort of see things from a different perspective, see how they did it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I like, how can I say, formulating my own ideas and stuff. So I like projects quite a lot. I enjoyed it.
No, that's great context that you gave there as well. And the objective of IPAS is to settle students into the BCom and for students to have a good idea, like a roadmap of where am I going. I mean, when I started my BCom, it was like, I'm doing computer programming, I'm doing economics, I'm doing all of these things, but where am I actually going on this journey? So that's really, really, really nice. I was also just, thinking of the one key thing that we built into the BCom is this concept of why and why now. So as a student, you're really understanding the why behind what you are learning, not just 1+1. It's like, why are we doing 1+1? And then why now? Why are you learning about this thing now in terms of the progression of this e-bike company that you're also following? So you then should, our idea is that a student should then grasp the concept much easier because of understanding not only the why, but the why now and the relevance of the content situationally. So Jacques and Michelle, maybe just feed in. We spoke about the flexibility of the program. And how does the flexibility of the program work for you guys? Do you guys work? Do you have other things on in life? Why did you choose Milpark? Can you, Jacques, maybe you start with that?
Yeah, so I've got quite an interesting story. I was cycling for a team in France this year, so I was basically out of the country from February, and I only arrived back now in end of September. So I've been back for just over a month, and for me it's difficult because I'm only racing for amateur team in France, so it's not professional. You're not making a big salary or anything. They provide you with a lot of things, but you still have to try and do something on the side. And for me, I really wanted to start studying, and that was my problem last year. Is I spent basically the whole year in Belgium, and I mean places like Tux and those universities close to me. Tux usually aren't really an option when you're out of the country half of the year. So last year I took a gap year, and then this year it was a coincidence. I talked to one of the guys also from South Africa that stayed with me in Belgium last year, and his dad is a CA working near Cape Town, and his old colleagues is a lecturer or someone at Milpark. I don't even know who the guy's name is, but he just mentioned Milpark, and I read up a bit about it, and so for me it worked like really great. I could do my cycling. I'm staying overseas basically, doing it from the other side of the world in France, but so for me it's perfect.
That's fantastic. I remember consulting when I was still in the PGA team with a professional cricketer, and he was also playing county cricket in the UK, and just this flexibility, whether it's you working and you can't necessarily commit to an 8 o'clock class, 3:30 class, or whatever, and you've got to fit your studying in after hours, or whether you maybe have a family and family commitments and that, and you're juggling various things, then the flexibility is there. Michelle, your reason for coming to Milpark and maybe linking with the flexibility and what we offer?
So I actually sent in my application to another university last year. Last year I was in matric, and then I decided to study BCom accounting because my grandmother is an accountant, and her son, my uncle, is also a chartered accountant. So I was like, I had accounting in school, and I was very passionate about it. So at some point I was also a little bit unsure about what to study, but then I made up my mind to study accounting, and so far it's really I'm really enjoying it. And so I sent in my application to another university, and they said my marks are good enough, but they didn't have enough space for me. It was also for online, but then I did not get accepted. So then I had to go to my employer because I'm currently working. I started this year in January, and then the agreement was I would study while doing my articles at this accounting firm. And then I had to go to him and then tell him, well, I did not get accepted. I will send in my application to other universities, but I just want to know how it would work from now on. And then he said, no, it's fine. I don't have to worry. But then he told me about Milpark. So then I went to go and have a look at Milpark, and I was very impressed with the structure of the website and everything. So I sent in my application, then I got accepted for the second take-in for the year. And so far I'm really enjoying it. And the flexibility is really nice because I work from 7:30 to 4:30 from Monday to Tuesdays, and then Fridays I get off at 1. And so I can work through the weekend, the afternoons, and also luckily I'm at the house before our live session starts, so I can watch them. But there were one or two that I missed, but I could go and rewatch them because they are recorded.
Now that's great. So you are a case in point where you're working and then studying, and the flexibility of just the opportunity that it presents for you to work and then study at the same time. Yeah, it is wonderful how a lot of Milpark's marketing is actually sort of organic. You're both saying, you heard from this person or that person, and you ended up here, and now you're helping us here on this webinar. That's great. And then, just to reiterate, we've also got 2 intakes a year. So it's January and in July. The one thing to also mention, we've also got a bridging program. So if you do want to know about our entrance requirements, you can go to our website. And if you don't meet the direct entry requirements into our BCom, then there is a bridging program. The bridging program is also uniquely crafted so that you're actually doing some of the modules. But what we do is we put the kind of the numerical numbers first, and you get some to engage in some of the numerical modules, let me call it that, number crunching modules, to engage with some of the modules and the content first. And then you basically, you kind of are slowly going into the BCom. And if you get through those modules, then you can slip into the BCom. So it's not like a bridging program that doesn't count for anything. It's a bridging program that's structured to already kickstart your journey on the BCom with us. So I want to bring in our academic staff here, lecturers Laura and Leo. I'd love for you guys to pick up on what Jacques and Michelle have already chatted about. So they've given us kind of a student's perspective on the start of the BCom journey. You can maybe talk to, let's focus on the e-bike story and journey. And one of you maybe feed in on how does that progress in your module, and how do you bring that in? How does it come through in the content and make the content relevant to what you're teaching? Laura?
So IPAS is their first module, and one of the modules I take is strategy and leadership in value creation, which basically brings in all those. You mentioned, Michelle, you did the steep analysis. So we go into the strategy a little bit further, and we the module is very intentional about it being a one-man business. So we speak about ethics and the values of that one person in terms of e-bike, and we slowly build in strategy and leadership from what you already learned in IPAS, but we bring it a little bit we make it a little bit more concrete in that module. So that's the one module. The other module that I take is financial reporting and compliance, the second part. Leo does the first part. So by that stage, e-bike is already a group. So it's a little business that we deal with right through the first little 6 months or for 12 weeks. And then when you get to financial reporting and compliance, then we're a group. Then we look at the accounting records from a group perspective. And all that way, it's one business that we bring through, but it's all based on what you learned in IPAS. So that's what I have to say. I have lots more to say, but I'll give Leo a chance.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah. Leo, do you want to feed in there?
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, I think maybe before getting into that, I must just say the reason why I chose Milpark. I've been teaching at a contact institution for more than 2 decades. And of course, I wanted to join the winning team, the dynamic team. And I think this is one of the things that students will feel when you join Milpark for your undergraduate degree is that energy. This is the dynamic team. We're always trying to make you and your experience the center of everything that we do. So things change, and when things don't work, we fix it quickly so that your experience that you have is a brilliant experience. So in terms of my background, I'm teaching 2 modules, financial reporting, which is at the 2nd year level, and applied business information systems, which is also at the 2nd year level. Traditional contact institutions, the way they structure programs is very, very different and not made to help a student. Here, you'd find that there's a deliberate connectedness at each level between our modules. And then, of course, the vertical integration that happens at the next year. So when you're talking about your IPAS modules, when you're doing financial reporting at first year level, you'll see that movement as that business grows when you come into second year. And not only do we focus only on the accounting aspects, you'll see we'll be drawing in on the risk, the governance issues. So you see exactly where this business is heading, right? So there's a deliberate way in which we teach that, that basically draws the bigger picture for the student. So you're not scratching your head and thinking, oh God, why am I actually doing this module? So in my module, I will be talking about 2 or 3 other modules that you might be doing on your full workload, so you can see how the picture fits in. Also, I think the benefit that we have in the live sessions is the fact that you're having this experience of someone who is not having work experience. You're having someone who's just straight out of high school, someone who has that intermediate kind of mix, and you learn off each other. So it's not a lecture, but it's a discussion. It's a discussion where we take you through the nuances of the topics that you've had for the week. And of course, the structure is so deliberate and so uniquely done in that each module, each weekly topic, is broken down into those lessons, and each lesson has a little quiz. We call it test your knowledge kind of thing, where we're building the mastery parts, and if you don't basically understand what is happening, it takes you back. Take a step back. Let's step out of the thing. Let's revisit what we learned last year or in the previous week. Unpack that. Get back onto par, and then we move on. So you're not left behind. So when we say distance learning, it's actually not. We're walking every step of the way with you. The support mechanisms are there. So through Viva Engage, where you're bouncing ideas off your colleagues or your fellow students, or through the weekly discussions that we build in, we all learn of each other. So you feel that you are in this big community, not left alone. And it makes the journey so exciting, because the experience is actually a very, very brilliant one. So I keep speaking about this energy, and you'd find that our team is such a dynamic team. It comes across when we have these sessions, and it's just there, and we genuinely care about your success. So it's not like just registering you're a number, you're a student number, and we've forgotten about you. Every effort is made to help you succeed in that journey.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. As you were sharing as well, you made this point of the interconnectedness and the horizontal and the vertical. And our BCom is very new. Like, it's hot off the press new. Like, it's still, when those scones have come out the oven, they're too hot to touch and eat new. Or those rusts that you're just looking at new, or biscuits, whatever. We're all getting hungry for supper now. But the way we've designed it is there's this company that's followed. There's this connection. Mastery pathways is another nice thing that you've mentioned, is because we intentional about saying, well, do you understand this? So let me go to this thing of, we launched the first year last year. The second year is being rolled out this year. And next year we're going to have our first year of third year students, those that started with us last year, going into the third year, and then completing and graduating at the end of that year. That'll be our first cohort of graduates. And we're learning, we're changing, we're reflecting, we're improving. We know our BCom's not perfect, and we're listening to students, and we are adapting, but still there's so much love for it and appreciation, because it's something that is so needed within the education space. So just to give an example of how different it is in terms of the vertical paths that we have and trajectories in the BCom. On a more traditional, conventional BCom, you'd have taxation, management accounting, auditing, kind of disciplines, and then obviously the accounting. Where within our BCom, you've touched on it, Laura. You said your one module was strategy and leadership, I think, for value creation. There's another strategy and leadership for growth module, but there's this delivery theme, which is strategy and leadership. So you have modules from your first year through to your third year in this theme, strategy and leadership. Then you've got modules in another theme, which is risk and governance. And then you have modules in another theme, which is analysis and decision making, from third year through to from first year through to third year. And then you've got another one, which is the financial reporting and compliance. And let's use an example of financial reporting and compliance. With financial reporting and compliance, when you're doing your reporting, your financial reporting, there's taxation that needs to be done at the same time, deferred tax considerations, etc. So there's not another module that covers tax, but taxation is covered together with the financial reporting and compliance when it makes sense to do so. So there's even this natural integration of content. And often integration is what scares students, but it's nothing to be scared of, because that's the real world. In the real world, we have integration the whole time when you need to make a decision. And the same in the analysis and decision-making track. With analysis and decision-making, you can't make a decision if you don't consider tax. You can't make a decision if you don't consider the risk side, or the governance side, or the strategy side. So even that gets pulled in there when you are engaging with that, as the BCom has been crafted. So you talk about the love and the care that we have for our students, which is very much there, but we also have this passion for education done good and proper and done well, so that the student comes out not only having gained knowledge, but comes out as a graduate with attributes. And we're very focused on what are those graduate attributes. And we have specific graduate attributes at Milpark that we say when you come out of our program, you need to be, for example, digitally fluent, but human first. So we look at the digital aspect and we look at the human aspect as a graduate attribute, and we work on that. And the one thing, Judith de Blanche, who's headed up the development of our BCom, the one thing she's very passionate about is the human side. So here, I also want to go to Nazi, but as an intro to you, Nazi, and what you and your team there do, is we have these other things. So students, for example, and other good things, which are not necessarily academic things. Students in their first year do smarter measure, and students in their first year do strength finder as well. So can you talk a little bit to that, and then also some of the other initiatives that you have? And then Jacques and Michelle, I want you guys to also maybe just feed in on some of those other, softer things that are not necessarily the academic numbers, but other things that you've engaged in the program. Nazi, tell us a bit about your domain, please. I'm struggling to hear you, Nazi. So, no. Okay, while we're waiting for your sound to come right. Jacques,
can you hear
Michelle,
me?
There we go, yes.
Sorry about that,
Just in time.
JD.
That's also something else we teach on the BCom.
Thank you so much, JD. So our department is the Student Success and Wellness Department, and we sort of like hone the skills of a student outside of the academic curriculum. JD spoke about when a student graduates, they become human, and also they have these attributes such as digital skills or business acumen. So we have a variety of support options that we offer, such as we do one-on-one consultations with students where you do the strength test that you do, and also the smarter measure, which is a test that basically helps you see whether you are academically ready or ready for tertiary, and it gives you different learning styles, and then we can use that to help you navigate through the program. And also, we are student-centric, and the strengths test is actually a very good one, and it teaches you different strengths that you have that you can use while you navigate from first year to third year. So we offer a lot of different aspects outside of the academic curriculum, the one-on-one consultations that we do, and also we have sometimes students, it happens that students, they start off by engaging, and then maybe in the middle, life happens, they come across challenges, and that's where we come in. We offer proactive support where if you are disengaged, or if you're experiencing difficulties in your life, we come in and we offer counseling and also sort of like bring you back into the program so that you can remain engaged, and we help you as you navigate through the program. So it's very exciting. My background is more of psychology, so tying that into the academic curriculum brings it just works out in a better way.
Wonderful. We so appreciate you and Khadija and Terry, and I know our students do as well. You know, we actually had a PGDA webinar last night as well, and we know this journey, especially by the time you get to the PGDA, is one of like mental toughness and endurance and grit, as much as it is about just getting over academic hurdles and accumulating knowledge on the journey. So Jacques, Michelle, you're at the start of this thing. You're first year students. It's not to scare you at all. But you know, when you talk to somebody in grade 1 about matric, then it's like, whoa, huge. So you just take it step by step as you go there. But where you guys are growing as a person, I really believe that on the BCom, if you grow as a person and you do this thing of strength finder and actually know what your strengths are, it's been so interesting for me as well, because all Milpark staff do this thing, strength finder, and it tells you so much about yourself. And it's not only your strengths, but then you also know what are not your strengths, because sometimes you think you have strengths, but they're not necessarily. So Jacques, Michelle, did you guys enjoy that side or find it beneficial at all in terms of these other softer, let's focus on the smarter measure and the strengths finder before we get to the other non-academic support? Jacques, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, I did at the start, I did the strength, I think it's called Gallup strength.
That's it, yes, Gallup.
Yeah, Gallup strength, and I can't remember, the smarter measure, I think, was the other one. I remember the Gallup strength quite well, because I remember after doing it, the strength that it listed, it was always what my mom and dad said about me, but I never believed it. And then when you see it actually for yourself, then you realize, oh, okay, these are all my strengths. And you also realize sort of your weaknesses, as you said. It sort of helps you also reflect on what are your weaknesses and what can you try and improve. But yeah, I found it really beneficial just seeing that, and I found it quite interesting. It was something that I wouldn't normally do. I'm not so big on those types of things, but I'm glad I did it. Yeah.
Do you find, after having done it, that it's not necessarily to just help you on the program, but it helps you outside of the program?
Definitely.
And maybe you understand who you are as a person, how you engage.
Definitely,
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And Michelle, you working, so maybe you can also talk more to, if you better understand yourself, maybe it, not only helped your studies, but also your work life.
Yes, no, it certainly did. Also, like Jacques said, when I got my strength back, I was like, everybody always says that, but I still can't believe it. But I try to focus now on them to improve them also, rather than focusing on my weaknesses that I have. But also with the smarter measure, we did those tests, and then I saw one of my weaknesses was my speed I type, my typing speed, and I really try to focus on that, and that helps me a lot now at work. I complete my work a lot faster than I did just before. Actually, I didn't know that I was typing that slow, and then because also I'm not that used to typing on a laptop because I come straight from school, so that really helped me a lot.
That's great. That's great. So, yeah, to learn more about yourself, and it also feeds into another part of the program, which is assessments. So we don't just have conventional assessments. So the first point on assessments, how do we assess, is you don't write your assessments in a venue. So you write online. We use a software called Proctorio. And when you do your assessments, there's also various types of assessments that you have. So there's maybe small multiple choice questions and quizzes that you have as you go through. There's some assessments where you get some information before and you need to do an assignment, and then there's a follow-on test on that. There's some assessments where you actually use Excel and you use digital tools. So yeah, who would like to feed in on that? Maybe Laura and Leo, the types of assessments that you guys have, and then also there's group projects that need to be done. So that's also why there's the strength finder and that you do, because when working in a group, you also, okay, those are your strengths, these are my strengths. Okay, how do we work together and achieve what we need to do here? Laura, you want to share on that?
So with my two modules, Jonathan, it's very nice, especially the strategy and leadership module, where the students do mainly assignments, and it's more about, this is the situation. What do you do in this situation based on what you've learned? What is your opinion? So it's thinking questions, and it brings into it everything about the person, which I personally think that Strengths Finder also helps with. So so that's the strategy and leadership. The financial reporting and compliance, the one assignment that you mentioned, where you have an assignment before, so you get pre-seen material and then you have to write an assignment on it, and then it's the same type of material that you've got to use to write a test a little bit later. So that's also a form of assessment I've never seen before. So that's what I can speak about my two modules. But I would like to say is that the students, after the assessments, are asking different types of questions. They're more asking, okay, but what about this? So you can see the integration from the different modules coming through in the types of questions the financial reporting and compliance students are asking after the test. So that to me is very exciting.
And you saying that from experience as an academic, Laura?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes,
Yeah,
they're different kinds of questions.
Yeah. And it's difficult to articulate, but you can just see it as an academic.
Yes.
This student is grappling with this work. It's not just tell me what the answer is, but it's like, I'm thinking of this, and what about this, and how does this make sense? Leo, from your experience as well?
Jonathan, the other module that I teach is the Applied Business Information Systems, which is a brilliant module. One of the projects we do there is a group assignment. And I know from past experience how people hate working in groups, and I forewarn the students. And I'll give you an example. Tegan, who was one of our most diligent kind of students, and she was paired up by chance with David Barnes. So Tegan's come straight out of high school, no work experience, and David's 40-something, lots of experience. And we've had a chat, and the exposure of having someone with no work experience working with someone who has got work experience, I can see how she's developed, because she's very academic, could give you the points that you want, and doesn't know or understand the bigger picture. And for her, she was so grateful having had that opportunity to work with someone, and then they can share with her. And of course, because David's working all the time, I don't think he's engaging with the material as often as he should. And she's brought in that kind of thing. Oh no, that lesson, remember we talked about this, and let's put the heads together. So it actually gets students out of their comfort zones, get them to collaborate, get them to talk to one another. And it's worked brilliantly. So speaking to what Laura's talking about, I have something similar with the assignment assessment hybrid, which kind of makes what you do at your board exam. So the students are actually being prepared now the way our assessments are developed and structured. So come third year, come fourth year, come board exam, it's not something new. They've been trained every step of the way. So when they see it, it's not been seen for the first time. It is second nature for them.
Yeah, no, well said. And thank you for those insights, Laura and Leo. It also links with just Psychos Competency Framework and See of the Future. And this thing of a business leader encapsulating also these other pervasive attributes, acumens, one of them being a digital domain, for example. And there's a lot of digital in the modules that the students engage with, whether it's Excel skills, or there's a module where they actually use a financial reporting package, and they have to process transactions and engage with the software and the outputs of the software, and consider controls around the software and various things. And also then to, say, okay, we've used this, and apply thinking of like analysis. What does this tell us thereafter? And yeah, so digital is the one thing I thought you mentioned. The other one is ethics is a big thing. And there's a lot of ethical considerations and junctures where questions are asked, and it's in the grey. It's not necessarily black and white, and it's also for us to help students to be comfortable with the grey. And it's all right to sometimes actually it could be a yes and it could be a no. And I also sometimes have to, even when making a decision, we could go this way or that way, but I've got to go away and let me commit to something and say I'm going to go this way because of this and this, but then understand the risks of maybe not going another way. And then the one aspect there was the group work that you talk about. And I wanted to bring across this point that it's not necessarily just going to be a cozy, easy journey, because to go from point A to point B on your learning journey to really progress and to become that graduate with the attributes, we have to stretch you. We have to challenge you. And it's also about you embracing that. And then, as you say, being set up for success when you get to the third and the fourth year, when it can be more challenging and there's lots more to juggle and to maybe consider or integrate at those points in time. So, yeah, that's on the assessment side, which is really cool. A question came through for you, Michelle, and maybe Jacques, you can also feed in on. But how are you finding the workload, and how would you go about choosing how many modules to do at a particular point in time? Are you on the full workload or the half workload, Michelle?
I'm on the full workload. So like Charmari said, I used the 40 hours. I went and worked out how much hours I would be busy during the week with work, and also with exercises and everything, because you can't just work. You will burn out. And so I literally went to do the maths and see how much time would I have left in a week. And so I saw I could take the full load with working, because I would have enough time. I do work hard during the week, but then I can take Sundays off.
Okay, yeah, that's what I always say to students is you need three things for success when studying with us. You need time, like you're saying, so you got to see how much time do you realistically have available, and you can't say you're not going to sleep, you're not going to eat. You've got to have time for many things in life, and you've got to realistically ask how much time do you have. And then you have to have discipline. And that is just a key ingredient for success in life more generally. So if you are going to be studying and somebody the whole time is going to be saying to you, sit down now, do this now, do that now, hand in this now, etc., your boss is not going to do that necessarily one day. Or, your entrepreneurial venture that you're going to have is going to go nowhere if you need somebody that's going to say to you, go do this now, go do that now, think of this now. So you need to have that discipline as well. So we give you everything for success and we support you and that, but you are going to need the discipline to engage in the material and to do what is needed. And then the third one is confidence and you believing in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then you're going to get to a point where you're going to doubt yourself so much that it's actually going to trip you up. And that's where, Nazi, you and your team come in, is this non-academic support. Because when you hit these junctures, or maybe you're struggling with discipline, you can go to our SSWAs, Student Success and Wellness Advisors, and ask them about these other things that you may be struggling with. And you guys even have these wellness sessions that you host for students to talk about whether it's good study habits or healthy lifestyle, whatever it may be, or how to manage stress when you're so overwhelmed. And then we all get to that point where it feels like too much and you just need to talk to somebody and get some perspective. And our academics are there as well. Laura, Leo, you guys have stressed students talking to you, right? And we can go so far because we've also been through this pressure and that. But Leo, what do you want to say on that? Have you had some students?
Yeah, Jonathan, I just think one thing to add, Charmari talked earlier on about flexibility, and I think you asked the question. From a traditional environment, you have to get yourself to a venue at a specific time, sit down with hundreds of other students and write your tests. So our assessments, it's open for a defined period of time, 5 days or whatever it is. And you have that flexibility, to work out what is the most opportune time for you to take that assessment. And I think that is it's such a game changer to absolutely alleviate the stress and the pressure that's associated with that. And I think one thing I do and a lot of my other colleagues do is that post marking and assessment, we always unpack the students' results, and then we always tie back to Nozi and the team and say, listen, we're concerned. Yes, the student did not perhaps complete quizzes and is not performing in the test. Can you just reach out and see how else we can help, because they've not booked a consult? And this is where that that synergy comes in, that we work well together. And then she does her bit, and then we get to understand what the students' needs are, and then we help them by our consultations, just to bring them up to speed and giving them more confidence to help them to succeed in their studies.
Leo, I just wanted to come in there. I love what you said about the different synergies, because when we do our BCom live sessions, we even teach students how to build resilience or academic writing, how to write or reference an assignment. And all those non-academic components work hand in hand with the academic part of it, and just build this well-rounded student. And we've seen a big show up from students needing other soft skills that are outside of the academic curriculum. And also, I see when everyone is talking here, I'm thinking of the BCom as sort of like a student coming in and running the marathon, and you guys as the lecturers are there to guide and support, and then they come to us as the student wellness advisors, and we provide sort of like the points where they need support or water and support or motivation. So they get to the finish line, they are third years, and they get to become CAs of the future. So it's really a brilliant program.
Wonderful. Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for feeding in there, Nozi. And it just shows you how you guys work so synergistically. You just picked up on what Leo said and you ran with it, working well together. And, following up on at-risk students, we care about our students. Like, why are students not engaging in the material? Why are students not submitting? Not because we want to do it for any other reason, but for your success as a student, to just make sure you're on a journey. And life does happen, at least then with a flexible program, you can adjust and adapt if life does happen. Yeah. There's a few things I just want to touch on as we close the session. And then I would ask Jacques and Michelle maybe just for a parting comment on maybe advice for prospective students, or something that you just really have enjoyed about the program that we haven't shared. But before we close with that, just to say that there's various ways that you can enter the program. There is, the matric results that you need, straight entrance requirements, but then there's also recognition of prior learning. So there's a RPL, what we call recognition of prior learning. Maybe you've been working for many years, and then that would be a way for you to enter the program. We've got a way that you can apply like that. There's also, if you're studying elsewhere or you've studied a while ago and you've got some modules that are really completed, we've got a CAT, which is giving you credit for other modules that you've done elsewhere. That's similar to the content that we cover. So you can get credit. The one module you won't get credit for is IPAS, that introductory module, just because of the uniqueness of it, and it sets you up for success, really. So we say you do need to do that, but you can do that concurrently with other modules. So even if you join us in your second year, for example, you can do the IPAS module while you do, or you commence your studies with us. There's great polls that have been answered there. So it's nice to see that there's some high school students that have joined the call. There's those that are already busy with undergraduate. There's some that are working. Actually, the majority are already working. So it's lovely having you all on the call with us. So thank you for answering those polls. If you haven't done that, you can do that. If you've got any other questions, please also pop them in the chat. So there's also obviously a lot of information on our website. So, we've spoken about a lot of it here and try to connect dots and just point out key aspects of the program. But our website is there with information. And the one very important document is the fact sheet that we have. It's quite a comprehensive fact sheet. It'll tell you all about these delivery themes that we've spoken about. It'll tell you what the requirements are to enter. as well as studying with us, where you do need a laptop and access to connectivity to study with us online. So all of that is there on our website. Yeah, but in closing then, Jacques, Michelle, let's start with Michelle this time. Michelle, what would you say to prospective students, or any highlights of the program that you'd like to share?
Well, my advice would be, like I did with the business plan, is to pretend like you're really starting the business, not just doing another project. Because sometimes project after project can get very boring. But when you do it with passion and do something you like, then you would do much better in completing the task, and you would also be happy with the product you get out of it and be satisfied.
I like what you mentioned. The passion is so important. Not only knowing the why of the content you study, but knowing your why of why you're studying this thing and why you're doing this thing. It's very, very important. Yeah. Jacques, from your side?
Yeah, I'll start off by something that I found quite nice about Milpark is the consultations, but the one-on-one with your lecturers. So I know for me, for instance, I struggled a bit grasping exactly what they wanted in the iPass in the big project. So just like when I needed clarification, I mean, I probably booked around 4 consultations, and I literally booked the day before, and there's the next day 2 of my lecturers, and I could pick from, I think, like 10 different times. So I could pick one in the morning, pick one in the afternoon. So that's really nice. I think it's quite a nice touch, because I think you get some of the other distance learning places where things like this isn't possible really. So yeah, I think you can't go wrong with Milpark. It really allowed me to how can I say, almost live a double life. You know, it gives you a lot of flexibility.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, like, I don't know if there's anyone else here that's planning going overseas next year, or living somewhere remote or anything, but I think it offers people maybe that choose alternative lifestyles also the opportunity to do their studies as well, and not choose the normal path, but sometimes choosing a different path is more fun, I find.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, thanks so much for that. And at Milpark, we really are about supporting our students holistically. And that's something you touched on now. So whether it's via an email, whether it's on our Viva Engage, like kind of a social media platform, whether it's in the live sessions or a consult. And we try and respond to students within 24 to 48 hours. And nobody falls through the cracks with the systems that we've got in that. So, yeah, everybody is important, and we care about not only doing education good and proper, but our students at the end of the day. So thank you to everybody for joining us on the call, and to my colleagues and students, Michelle and Jacques. You guys really did a great job, and I appreciate all that you shared. So thank you so much. And we look forward to welcoming you to our BCom in Accounting. See you with our 2025 intake. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.